Welcome to Video Bytes. I'm Ethan Banks. With me is Peter Sprygada of Itential, and we are talking. First of all, Itential. It is an orchestration product, but there's more going on here, isn't that right, Peter?
That's absolutely right. We've got, this year we've actually started to introduce our first automation product, which is now becoming part of our portfolio of products to really work in concert with the orchestration capabilities that we've really been known for the last 10 years or so.
And that's what you're going to be showing us today. We're going to get into automation and from a couple of different perspectives. We want to talk about operators, people that are using the platform, consuming what's created here, but then also someone who's more of a developer, someone who's actually building scripts and network automation tools, right?
That's exactly it. In a lot of my journeys in speaking with folks, we've got as we've seen this network automation thing really pick up steam. There's many folks out there, many teams, many organizations that they view orchestration as a ultimate destination, but the reality is, and we all understand this, is we've got things we got to deal with right now here today. I don't have
Yeah.
the time to sit and invest in a massive orchestration platform. I really want to get started with automation, and that's really what we're going to kind of walk through here today.
Okay, well, let's bring up the GUI and start walking us through it, Peter.
Excellent. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to get started actually on the terminal, because that's really where the developer persona lives, right? They live in writing their scripts. And so one of the interesting
So,
things we've done is we've separated the two.
So the first persona we're talking about again, developer, someone who's actually creating a script. They're working in Python maybe, or building an Ansible playbook, and you want us to show us the perspective from that person who's building something.
That's exactly right, because that's really where it all begins. It's that right. It's that one individual who, just kind of got that itch to go off and figure out there's got to be a better way to deploy network whatever device configs, collect operational data than logging in devices node by node and typing out commands. And so that's
Okay.
really where it all starts.
Okay.
So we really wanted to meet customers, where they live and how they operate. And, one thing that was super important to me as we put this whole thing together was we really wanted to make sure that those individuals could continue to build automations however they go about building it. I didn't want to force them to suddenly have to change their patterns. You have to use this editor, you have to import this library, or you have to do things a certain way. And we've tried to do a very good job of not being intrusive in terms of how those individuals or how those teams are actually writing their automations. So in doing so, it really starts with the terminal client side of our cloud service. And this is indeed a cloud SaaS service, by the way. I should mention that. Even though I'm going to be working on the terminal, I'm actually going to be talking to a device that is deployed on-prem. But then when we switch to the operator persona, you're going to see where the cloud service capabilities start to come into play as we talk about the operator.
So I'm using an Itential tool right now at the CLI, is what you're saying.
That's exactly right. So what
Got it.
I've got deployed is I've got deployed our gateway server. That deploys on-prem, and there's a whole architecture discussion about how that goes. We'll talk about all of that, at some other time. But really, it all comes down to being able to type out terminal commands and work with what we call services. So if I just simply take a look at services that I've built so far, you can see that I've got a number of services that go off and do different things. Everything from backing up to creating VLANs to whatever the case is. But I want to draw your attention to really the third column here, because you notice that this is intermingled. Some of this is Python, some
Mm.
of this is Ansible, but it's all a service to how Gateway works. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're really trying to unify that execution experience for those development teams.
So I'm logged into the Itential Automation Gateway. I'm using IAGCTL, Itential Automation Gateway Control. You're now telling me here's a bunch of services that I've built. Some of them are Ansible, some of them are Python. Okay, and again, this is coming at it from the developer creator perspective.
That's
So these
correct.
are tools. I could edit these. I could make a new one. I could keep going from there.
That's absolutely correct. And one of the very unique things that we did when we built this is this works in concert with your version control, specifically Git, such that as I run things, I actually, or how IAG control actually works, is it introspects the repo, it looks for all the dependencies, and actually dynamically builds an execution environment and runs my script in it. The net of that really means is that whether I'm running my testing in my development workstation or I'm running this on the gateway server, I'm always running it in the exact same type of environment with all the exact same dependencies without having to have an operator administrator try and figure out how do I keep all of that in sync over time.
Okay, Peter. So show me how to run a script.
Yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and run my show version script. This is just going to connect to a container version of EOS and run show version and return it to me. So you can see that this is something I built and I can make it available.
Okay, that's the key. Something you built, and
Hmm.
IAG control just gave me the environment to run that in because a lot just happened there, and it happened fast. But
Did.
as a Python script, then there's requirements to be able to run that script, get the environment correct, get all the libraries and dependencies sorted, and all that. That just happened. That was done by IAG control. I mean, you had everything set up in the GitHub repo for it to be able to do that, but it did that, built the environment, ran the script, gave you back the output, and there you are. We got a show version.
That's exactly right. And just to kind of round that out, this is actually the repo by which it was running. And if I just look at my requirements real quick, you can see in my requirements I had something called NetMiko. Of course, we're all familiar with what NetMiko is to us, and so that's what it did. You're absolutely right. When I actually ran that script, it actually built an environment. It installed NetMiko for me based on this requirements.txt file, and then it executed that EOS Python script, grabbed the output of show version, and we're good to go.
Very cool. Okay. And I guess the bigger point of this, well, hang on, because we're still in the developer persona.
That's right.
Okay. So if I was wanting to add a script or edit a script or something, I would do that in this environment as well?
That's exactly it. So I would right. So now I want to add a new use case, whatever that might be. Again, remember, I'm not a professional software developer. I'm a network engineer, right? So I'm putting these scripts together by piecemeal. I'm not thinking in terms of building an entire application here. I'm just putting together these scripts as I write them. So let's say I wanted to create a new script for whatever the case might be. Maybe it's enabling an interface. Maybe it's configuring an SNMP community string. I can build my script here, commit it to Git, and then I can expose it to IAG and run it just like you've seen me run these here.
Okay. So if I'm the consumer of this, let's say, no, I'm not a developer. I don't want to look at the text to the CLI. It scares me. There's a GUI way I could consume these?
There is, and this is really, I think, the big kind of aha moment when a lot of people look at this is that the developer persona is great because it really reflects how I'm working together, basically with my team, right? If myself and another person or three of us or whatever, I can hand them the script and we work together every day. That's great. But what happens when I want to turn that over to somebody who's not part of my immediate team and I want them to run it? I've got one of two choices. Either A, I can train them up, which means I'm taking on tech support now. I'm
Yeah.
on, having to train them. When it breaks, I'm the person who's going to have to go fix it middle of the night, right? And that's not really a place I want to live in. I want to be able to allow other folks to use the stuff that I'm writing, but I want to do it in a very safe way against my production infrastructure. And that's really where the operator persona of this starts to come into play. So what we've done is you've seen it from the CLI, but now I'm going to switch and I'm going to show you you can actually get the SaaS web UI. So this is actually running in the cloud. I didn't have to deploy a server. I don't have to maintain more infrastructure, but now I have the ability to execute all of the automations that I've built. So here you're looking at a list of automations, and these are actually pulled from that gateway that I was just running using the CLI tools.
So there's a connection somewhere between this SaaS instance running in the cloud and my on-premises network, yeah?
That's right. Yeah. So you can have as many gateways as you want deployed on premises, and each one of those creates a WebSocket connection back to cloud, and then I
Got it.
manage the certificates which is what are used for authentication.
Got it. Okay. So the actual execution is going to happen on the gateway device. This is my management interface, if you will.
That's exactly it. So I can very easily go here and I can see if I click on, say, the list of automations, I can see everything that's available to me. And then,
Mhm.
so here is where we apply full RBAC capability. So what I see are only those automations I'm entitled to actually run.
Okay. So full R back that's integrated with what?
That's integrated with the SaaS platform with the cloud application. And so when I log in, like I said, I can see all of my services that have been built. So if you think back to that developer persona, they've been writing their scripts and they've been creating them in Gateway and they've been testing them locally through the CLI, just like you just saw me do. But
Hmm.
now I can expose these in such a way that if you notice when you look at this page, you don't see anything here about Python or Ansible. What you just simply see are these are all the things, the quote unquote automations that I can actually do. And that's where I can start to turn this over to, say, my operations team. And I can tell them, hey, when you need to do procedure X, go run and insert the name of the automation you want that person to run.
Hmm. Got it.
So let's just kind of take a look. One of the interesting things is when we build these automations, though, it's more than just simply executing them. It's we can also what we call through a process that we call decoration. We can actually dynamically set them up so they prompt the user for a form. So in this case, I've got an automation called create VLAN. Now, when I created that in my Python script, I need two input parameters. I need a name and I need a VLAN ID. VLAN ID is required. The name is optional. That actually gets dynamically rendered into a form now that is now prompting the user, the operator in this case, for that input. So now I can go in and if I want to run this, I can say I'm going to create my new server VLAN and it's going to be VLAN ID, I guess 100. And now that I've got all my parameters in there, I can go ahead and I can run and that will go off and that will actually now create the VLAN.
So there's something that was implied there. The operator utilizing the tool had a clue what VLAN number was appropriate.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And we can get pretty we can get pretty verbose in terms of the product the parameters that we're prompting for, including right up to validation. So for instance, I could have put a validation rule on that that simply said I want input. That input has to be an integer, and that integer in this case has to fall within the range of say 1 to 4094.
Okay. Yeah.
So now we can see our VLAN has been created. It just popped up. It is completed. It took it roughly 33 seconds to run. And then I can dive into it and I can see, okay, this is the output coming from the Python script. And that's actually the output that I wrote into the script. So I can see, okay, that's actually how it worked.
So you know what that again, that output you're looking at is part of sort of your script. So you made that as intelligent and verbose as you wanted so that you can verify, okay, look, this did the thing. This is what I expected to happen. It can go from there. Or if you got an error, I suppose it would have popped that into the error log if you got some kind of an exception output.
That's exactly right. That's exactly it. And then as I work with these different automations, I can go grab something different. Let's go ahead and let's get local facts. So this one, no parameters required. This is just running, but I wanted to show this one because, as a developer, I happen to know that this one happens to be Ansible. And so what I wanted to show is at the completion of this one running, you can actually see in the output log, sure enough, it actually is Ansible that ran.
Hmm.
And this is just a great example of showing how, as a individual who's just getting into network automation, I don't want to have to make decisions up front like I'm going to build my entire application in Python, or I'm going to commit to Ansible, or I'm going to use whatever the next great thing is. I can pick and
Hmm.
choose and figure out what are the best tools for me to ultimately use to automate my network. And then I can use IAG, both the on-premises component and then the SaaS web portal, as a way to create a very consistent experience for those operators that really don't care what I use to write the automation in.
Okay. So the operators that are consuming this, this is different from, say, publishing a service catalog that someone who isn't very technical might use. They're still expected to be an operator who is technical, who's on the IT team. Is that the expected consumer?
That's exactly right. They are still expected to be able to do that much. And what we're trying to do with this product though is try to take out all the things that trip companies up and trip organizations up as they're trying to expose this stuff to the folks that
Mm.
aren't working with it every single day. Right? We've all, at some point in our history, probably have done some type of an operations role, and we know that when you're in that role, right, you're working with so many tools all the time. It's impossible to understand. Okay, for this tool, I need to add this command and click here and do that. We're just trying to make that experience as seamless as we can, so that folks aren't getting tripped up, trying to use those tools.
And then going back to our intro bit, you guys are known for orchestration. So this takes nothing away from the orchestration platform you built. So if you're new to Itential and you're looking at the automations that you're seeing here and going, oh well, so I can run little things. That's no, you're missing the bigger picture. So Peter, the bigger picture is this is an addition to the main orchestration platform, which has what sort of capabilities, just in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. So the orchestration platform is where we get into thinking about really building end-to-end services through workflows.
Yeah.
Taking that more approach of really orchestrating your islands of automation. So you would have a whole lot of these things that are out there, and then the orchestration is what starts to bring all of these different jobs together to ultimately end in delivering a full end-to-end IT service.
Got it. Okay. Peter, is there anything else we want to go over today?
Other than just, telling folks that you can get started with this for free. We've got a free trial at itential.com. So be sure to jump over there and take a look, log in, get your gateway up and running. And, as I always tell folks, let me know your thoughts. You can always find me, in many places, but probably easiest is at Private IP.
At Private IP. Okay. So Peter, you mentioned a free trial. Is people just go to itential.com? What's the best way to get to that?
Yeah, actually, they can head to itential.com/free-trial. Get started for free and start automating your network.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you.